friends. Welcome back to the Coup Coach Cast with Jim Glogowski. I'm Chad Birger. I'm going to be joined by co-host Sam Dooyema here in just a few moments, where we're going to meet with Coach Jim Glogowski of the University of Sioux Falls Cougars to talk about the 2025 football season that's upcoming. Let's go ahead and bring Coach and Sam in right now. Coach, Sam, summer's over. It's game week. Let's go.
It's 40 degrees last night.
Go time.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff happened, right? Lot of different things happened. We're going to talk about the off season. We'll do a quick review of last season as well. But a lot of people are very excited about the Cougars in 2025, myself included. And so, you know, this first week is always such a build up. You know, we've been waiting for months and months to see what's happening. And Coach, I know you've probably, been out at practice for a month now, and you're just ready to go play someone else. So
yeah, it's it's, as you guys know, a couple of years ago we started the spring scrimmage. I think we had Moorhead in year one and Kearney, so that kind of fuels the fire a little bit in the spring. And nowadays with development in the off season, the guys are around a lot in the summer. Most of our guys were here all summer, if not all of them were here all summer long working out. So we saw them just around or whatever. But you hit fall camp and you hit the ground running. And then of course, school starts, this week. And obviously we're on the road to Black Hills, and it's almost like you're in that grind at camp. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's game week. And so it kind of sneaks up on you. But you got a taste of college football this weekend. Some games kicked off across the country. And so, yeah, it's time to go. It's that time of year.
Well, we've had an exciting offseason here with the Coup Coach Cast. We did pick up a new sponsor this year. So Atomic Wings is going to continue to sponsor us, but we also have Unlimited Painting on board to sponsor us this season. So we'll give you more information about Unlimited Painting here during the show, but make sure to go out to Facebook, give them a like, follow, and support our sponsors. Speaking of changes, though, Coach, the offseason had a few changes. You can see one of the changes on the screen right now if you're watching. The University of Sioux Falls came out with a new logo. There was a partnership with Nike that was announced, and BSN Sports. So I don't know if how that impacts the football program, but if you want to tell us a little bit about some of those changes, go ahead.
Yeah, John Hart, our new athletic, well, not new, I guess he's been here over a year now, but spearheaded kind of the logo change, and I think it's a great fresh look, and it's something to get excited about. The Nike thing was something that's been in the works for a while now, and so as of, I think, July 1, we are officially a Nike school, and BSN has continued to be our corporate sponsor, or at least our that's our main go-between Nike and ourselves, and so everything we order goes through BSN. They take care of that stuff, but everything from shoes to clothing, apparel, jerseys, of course, all that stuff. We've transitioned to the swoosh, and so that's been exciting. There's like everything else, people probably don't understand, but the transition, and you're training out this Under Armour gear for Nike gear, and so we still, obviously, we're not just going to get rid of that stuff, so we still have some kids wearing some Under Armour stuff and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's been a fresh look. I'm excited about it. We're looking forward to that, and a lot of things to look forward to and be excited about, except the most important thing, which is the games, and that starts this week.
Coach, I asked John Hart this summer. I'm like, so I still got a bunch of Under Armour stuff. What am I supposed to do? Just throw that all out? I mean, he's like, no, you just keep wearing that stuff, and you can cycle in the Nike stuff. So
I think he'd like you to go to the bookstore and get some new Nike. I mean, of course, you got to get the new stuff, but and we got some new stuff like our once we get on the field, it'll be all Nike stuff. At practice and stuff, we use old game jerseys for practice gear and stuff like that, but. As far as our traditional stuff, as far as the uniforms, what we wear on the bus and shoes and all that stuff, that's gone to Nike. But, we had a good relationship with Under Armour. It was a good relationship. It's good quality stuff. The Nike stuff, recruiting is a big part of that. Whether that matters or not, I don't know. But interestingly enough, this will be our third year with at least one new jersey. We had some replacements the last 2 years. Got a new purple jersey, I guess, my first year. And then now this year we're going to be white and purple. I'll let the cat out of the bag, but I think we're going to wear purple pants and a white top with a white helmet on Thursday night. And so that'll be looking fresh, and we'll see. Like I said, I'm pretty confident. I don't think it's going to affect the play on the field, but you never know. We'll see.
Look good, play good, Coach.
That's what the kids say. For me, I'm probably a little less into that nowadays. But I'm sure back in 1995, I probably cared how I looked in the mirror before I took the old Dakota Dome field. But I can see where that still matters.
Talked a lot about your.
I was gonna say, I just say I look good all the time, so I'm always playing.
I don't know. I think Coach is kind of underselling a little bit. I remember hearing a little bit about his DB swag last season. I think that's going to come out. The swoosh might bring some of that out this year. We'll have to see what happens. But I know I'm getting old.
Find a picture. There's probably something rolling around from '95 with. I think I had a Nike swoosh in this ear, maybe a number 33 gold stud in this ear, a nice gold chain, no head, no hair on the head. I had a bald head and a goatee, and I remember my grandfather, that was back in '95 when the Daktronics scoreboard first came out, and it was just light bulbs. Now, of course, you can see how many razor stubble you got now, right? But back then, and I remember they posted a picture of me, and he thought I looked like a convict. He was so disappointed in my picture. What's wrong with you? He said, my grandfather. I'm like, yeah, probably not a great look. So that was my first introduction to multimedia, right? There you go, mass media and all that stuff.
I love it.
All right, Coach. You've also had a few changes on your coaching staff since we last talked. Do you want to kind of fill us in with what's going on there with the coaches?
Yeah, so we had some changes over the summer, and Coach Springer stepped away from coaching in general, and Coach Bozen unfortunately departed right before the season started, about a week before the season. And so Jay Schlichty joined us at the end of spring. Right before spring, Wes Bridges jumped on board. He was a guy that had played down at Central Missouri, but started off at a lot of guys know Coach Salem, coached him and recruited him at Michigan State. Then he transferred to Central Missouri where he crossed paths with Coach Luters. And so he was our running back coach. He jumped on board. Coach Jackson was the running back coach last year. And ironically, I watched him on TV this weekend. He's coaching now at Iowa State. Fun to see him on the sidelines in that game against Kansas State over in Ireland. But so Coach Bridges jumped on board as running back coach, replaced Coach Jackson. And then, like I said, Coach Schlichty replaced our offensive line coach, Coach Springer. And Coach Schlichty was actually at Morningside. His younger brother, Ryan, is the offensive coordinator at Mankato. And, of course, I coached at Mankato when Ryan was playing quarterback, and I've known Jay for a long time. And kind of a quick little background, but I tried to hire Jay when I first got the job as our offensive line coach. And he was actually at that time was promoted to offensive coordinator at Morningside. And so this time around when the job opened up, I reached out to him again and he was interested. And so he jumped on board. That was probably maybe late May, early June. So he's been with us for a few months. And then, like I said, Coach Bose got the opportunity to become the quarterback coach at Northwest Missouri State. So he left and we added Kevin Lucas. And Kevin was a guy that actually he played at Tulsa, where my glasses are all kind of funky here. I don't know what's going on here. But anyways, so he played at Tulsa when a former player of mine was a strength coach. And so Coach Luters kind of knew some coaches at Tulsa back then. And he played in the NFL for a little bit, played over in Europe, and was coaching receivers, kind of working at a Riggs Combine type of place down in Dallas and was coaching at a high school. And so fortunately, he joined us about 48 hours before fall camp kicked off. And so he's been our wide receiver coach now for about 3 weeks. So that's been good. But he's done a really nice job with our kids and really brings a technical aspect to that position group. So I think that'll be a positive for us. And I don't think I'm forgetting anybody else. I think other than that, we've stayed pretty much status quo. Yeah, I'm pretty sure as far as the coaching staff is concerned.
Let's take a look at last season a little bit. A recap. We don't want to belabor it for coach's sake. We're always looking forward to 2025. But for the fans, let's just give a quick little recap of where the season started and what we can look for here in 2025. So, of course, the season kicked off with St. Thomas on the road, that weird thunderstorm lightning delay game against the Division I FCS opponent, which the Cougars rolled and started off that season 3-0 with stacking up wins there with Northern and Mary to follow. Tough loss, Bemidji State there, followed by a tough loss on the road there to Minot State in that triple option, and sitting at 3-2, kind of crossroads of the season there. And Cougars kind of got to figure out what they're going to do and reel off 4 straight wins. Had the late season stumble against Augie and then finish it out with Southwest State 8-3. Good season, building on 3-8. I think nobody would say that they were extremely disappointed. But Coach, does that fuel for you going into this year, that 3-8? What comes next? How do you build off that? How do you take that next step?
Yeah, obviously, you want to play meaningful football in November. And I think we accomplished that last year. We were at the point where I think for us, our kids were starting to learn how to compete week in, week out. And I think we had some success. Those games, it's interesting looking at that scoreboard once again, they could have gone either way. There's a game that, a bounce here, a bounce there. The guy catches the ball at Mankato in the back of the end zone, and that's a loss. Then all of a sudden you're reeling, right? Now you've lost 3 straight, and you're sitting there at 3-3, scratching your head going, what's next? So, Concordia St. Paul was a close game till the fourth quarter. So, this league is very competitive week in and week out. We were watching some stuff. The offensive coordinator, at Mary is now the offensive coordinator at Black Hill State. So we were kind of reflecting back on the Mary game last year. And I don't know if people remember that game, but that was, I think we had to get a stop. They had the ball with a few minutes to go at the end of the game to go down and maybe win the game. We had to get a stop in that game. So, a lot of those games go either way. Certainly Bemidji could have gone either way, and you just kind of play them out. And then, like I tell our kids all the time, I'll tell you how good we are at the end of November. That's when it will really matter. So even this week, we're heading out to Black Hills. Let's go compete. Whatever happens, we've got to get ready to go the following week, and let's take week by week and see where we stand in November. And looking back on it, though, it was a really good year for us. It was a positive year. A lot of good things happened, and certainly that momentum. Momentum's a funny thing. I think it carries over. I don't know. I know there's a lot of new faces. We've got new coaches that weren't here last year. A lot of guys going on this bus trip that never been on a bus trip with the Cougars before. So, we'll see. That's all part of it. But you certainly have your I guess shared experiences you kind of reflect back on. And now that we sit in a meeting or we sit on the sideline in a game, and you can say, hey, remember when this happened? And you kind of say, when this went down this way last year, this is how we responded. So we talk about creating a frame of reference. And so there's a frame of reference now with our guys in our program that know what to expect. And so that's certainly positive and makes you feel good about heading into 25.
Coach, you finished the 2024 season tied for second in the NSIC, but this year the NSIC is a little bit different. Jamestown joined the league, and so we're going to go back to the old North-South division type format. And so I pulled this off the NSIC website. It just has the listing of teams. They're in alphabetical order, so there's no one's in first place or last place yet. But you can see the North schools are Bemidji, Jamestown, Duluth, Minot, Moorhead, Northern, and Mary. And then the South schools are Augustana, Concordia, Mankato, Sioux Falls, Southwest, Wayne, and Winona. So tell us a little bit about, how that stacks up. Does that impact the scheduling? Like what types of things does the realignment change this year?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we'll play everybody in the South, and then we avoid a few teams in the North. And so, this year, I think we don't play Jamestown, we don't play Marion, we don't play Moorhead. So, good, bad, or indifferent, everybody has a different opponent that they avoid or don't play this year. Ironically, I think we face, some people made comments that stretch where we go, you got Northern, and then you talk about non-conference, you got Black Hill State, who's a very competitive, very solid, very physical football team in the RMAC. And you come back home and you kick off a slate of 5 weeks in a row with arguably start off with maybe the hottest team in the league last year at Northern State, who won, I think 5 out of 6 or something like that. And then, you get into the Bemidji, you got to go up there, and then you got Duluth, and I'm just looking at the schedule over here. Haven't thought much past week 1, but then you got Mankato and Augustana. I mean, you talk about that first 6 weeks of the season. This is going to be a challenge for us. And I would argue those are maybe the toughest 6 weeks that anybody in the league or anybody in the country maybe even has to face, where you're playing multiple playoff teams, and not just playoff teams, but a couple teams that fought to go to the Final Four in our region. Again, the hottest team maybe in the entire country with Northern State at the end of last year. And, not to mention, you've got, your arch rival in Augustana, the key to the city game. And by the way, you're going to have another in-state rival with Black Hill State. So, yeah, it's a challenging schedule, no doubt, but we don't make it. We just play it, and we'll take them one at a time and see where we stand in November.
Well, of course, the conference puts out preseason coaches poll results, and everyone thinks they know what's going to happen in the summer. And so this, I don't put a lot of personal stock in preseason polls, so that's why I'm a little bit down with this result. But as a result of the coaches poll, Sioux Falls was picked 5th overall in the conference, and then 3rd in the South division behind Mankato and Augustana. Once again, take this for whatever it's worth. It is what it is. But Coach, I know I was at practice the day when this got released, and you kind of talked to the players a little bit about it. But what's your take on preseason coaches polls?
Well, a lot of these things are a byproduct of what happened, last year. And, Yeah, certainly Augustana, two-time champion. They deserve to be up there. Mankato obviously has proven they've got the medal to win in the playoffs. But Midgey's been successful. So Duluth is certainly a football program that's had a lot of success. So to sit here and say we should be higher or lower, it's probably a waste of time. I'm sure there's probably 6 or 7 teams below us that think they should be higher, and I think it's all irrelevant. That's the beauty of it. You get to play the games. So we talked about our schedule being difficult. I told our players that night when this came out, it's a nonsense deal because you're going to get the opportunity, right? So we can talk all we want, but you're going to get all that smoke. And so I hope you're ready for it because I am. But we're going to get a chance to prove it on the field, which is all you can ask for. And when you look at the preseason stuff, the coaches, we rank it, we vote. I can tell you that's about probably where I would have had myself if I was voting for ourselves, but we can't. We don't vote for your own team. So you're looking at whatever it is, 13 other teams and trying to put them in order. And I struggle with putting guys in order. It's easy to maybe pick the top 2 or maybe even 3 because based on what happened last year. But after that, there's not a lot of 65 to 7 games out in our league. So, any given team on any given Saturday, I know it's a cliche, but it's true. So, we'll see. It was funny. I said something to Cam Dean about it, and he made a comment. He's like, "Oh yeah, who was picked first last year?" And I couldn't remember. And he's like, "Yeah, exactly." Or who's the player of the year last year in the preseason? I couldn't remember exactly. All that matters is where you stand in November, and we're going to work towards that and see where it takes us.
That's a leader right there. A great take from
you might say he's a team captain type of leader. That's in fact he is. And so yeah, great segue. You're getting good at this, Birger. Jeez, oh man. He's a great leader. He's a great teammate. He had a really good fall camp. He threw the ball really well, probably as well as he's thrown it since I've been around him now. This is my 4th year around him. And so you could see his confidence in his command. And along with him, I think Garrett Hoffman was our other captain. And those 2 guys, you vote, the players vote at the end of fall camp. And I've done it a lot of different ways. I know a lot of schools do it differently, but just felt like those 2 guys got the majority, if not, a large majority of the votes. And then after that, we had about 8 other guys. So there was probably 10 guys that when you vote, you clearly separated from the rest of the football team. Roughly 115 guys on the team, and those 10 stood out. But Cam and Garrett were voted clear-cut team captains. So those guys will be our official team captains, as I told the guys in the team meeting. In the record books of 2025 Cougar football, they'll go down as the 2 team captains or co-captains. And then we had a handful of guys that will be part of our leadership group. Those guys, Cal Botsford's into his 7th year. 7 year, that's hard to believe, but he's coming back, a grad student. You've got Andy Henson, who's coming back, who was our first-team all-conference linebacker as a freshman and the newcomer of the year on defense as a redshirt freshman. He's back. Those 2 guys on defense, along with Jerome Jackson, our center. Jerome's had a really, really productive fall camp. He's been a really good leader. With the emergence of our offensive line, a lot of guys get talked about, but Jerome's kind of the glue at center that holds it all together, kind of your throwback. Doesn't probably look like an NFL prospect at all, but he definitely plays his heart out, and he leaves it on the field. And just one of those guys that just is a great effort guy. Cade Morris is a guy that played for us as a true freshman 3 games, and then as a redshirt started every game at safety. Another fantastic leader who works his tail off, a great leader by example. Ben Peterson, a guy who's overcome multiple injuries and has been here since I've been here. Really a positive role model for our kids who's come back, and we're hoping to see him get some action early in the fall here, coming off that knee injury he suffered. I think the guy was first-team all-conference and only played in 7 games. So that kind of tells you what the league coaches thought about him. And then Preston Yonke, a D tackle. His older brother graduated last year. Travis was a tight end, and Preston joined us and came back and is a grad student, could have graduated and moved on, but came back and is really a strong anchor in that middle of the defensive line. And then you got Kane McWilliams, a kid that, again, another kid that came here on offense, switched to defense, has been a corner for us since I've been here, and he's been really productive. And this year he's been a really good leader, really a solid guy that rocking that defensive secondary. That we have some young corners this year that'll probably see some playing time. So we're counting on Kane to kind of bring those guys along. And then Isaiah Manuel. He's a grad transfer from Minnesota State Mankato. I recruited him out of high school. He went to Mankato, played there. I was laughing with him the other day. The last time he and I were on the same sideline was Colorado School of Mines in the playoffs, and he went off for about 5 or 6 catches for 100 yards. And so I told him we should just pick up where we left off, and he thought that'd be a pretty good plan. So really proud of that group of guys. So two team captains and then 8 what I would consider team leaders, and those guys will lead the way. So when we go out for the coin toss, Cam and Garrett will go out every Saturday or Thursday night, and then we'll pick 2 of those other 8 guys to go out with them for the toss, but the other 6 will stand on the sideline there. And I really think it's it's kind of organic. It's not something that I planned. It's just we wait and see how the voting shakes out. And like I said, really, really proud of the fact. I'm looking at the list right now, but let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 5 of those guys are in grad school. They're graduate students, so kind of a veteran group there, and with all different experiences. You got a transfer or 2 in there, and just a really good. I'm proud of them. I think they'll be really good representatives for our team.
All right. Well, thanks, Coach. We're going to dive into the defense and offense here, but we're going to hear a word from our first sponsor before we do that. So let's start off and just welcome back Atomic Wings. Atomic Wings was our primary sponsor last season, and we're excited to have them back as a sponsor of the Q Coach Cast this season. Atomic Wings is still located at 1502 East 69th Street in Sioux Falls, just north of the USF Stadium. There's also a new location at 3217 South Sertoma Avenue, just across the street from Roosevelt High School. I know Sam's excited about that West Side presence over there. Atomic Wings offers customers that fresh, never frozen, natural, and hormone-free chicken wings, hand-tossed in any of those 14 proprietary sauces. The food from Atomic Wings is the perfect complement to football season. Also, take advantage of the weekday lunch special. I eat lunch every day. I do a lunch with Birger series over the summer, and Atomic Wings is one of the go-to spots for me. You can get a 3-piece tenders or sandwich combo for only $9.99 every Monday through Friday from 11 to 4. So take advantage of that special. Coach, have you had the tenders at Atomic Wings?
Yes, I have had about everything on that menu, and it's fantastic. The buffalo chicken sandwich is enormous.
Oh,
the waffle fries are very tasty. But, I'm a big Atomic Wing guy.
Yeah. Everything's enormous. It's funny when I go with people, and they're like, I'm going to order a 5-piece tenders. And I say, there's no way you're finishing that for lunch. You're going to be like out in a food coma. And so I talk them down to the 3-piece. But the 3-piece is way more than enough food with those tenders. But, yeah, the sandwiches are huge. In addition, the menu also includes traditional wings, boneless wings, flatbreads, a wonderful selection of sides, and don't forget those deep fried Oreos. Those are awesome. Those always hit the spot. Huge portions, excellent selection of food, and once again, sponsor of the Q Coach Cast. You can't go wrong. There's something for everyone in the family at Atomic Wings. Order online at atomicwings.com or download the app. Located on 69th Street, just north of the USF football stadium for football season, as well as the new location on South Sertoma Avenue. Perfect for pregame tailgates or postgame celebrations with friends or family. So we're pretty excited to have them back. I go over and I talk with Eric and his wife Stephanie, kind of help with the franchising for Atomic Wings, and I kind of said, hey, Eric, are you interested in sponsoring? He said, this is like the biggest no-brainer. This is the perfect partnership between the Q Coach Cast and Atomic Wings. So we're excited to have, those guys back as a sponsor. So make sure if you're a fan of our show, go support that sponsor, because that helps us continue to be able to do what we do. In addition to the Wings, we're also going to try to continue doing the Atomic Players of the Game this season. Last season, we selected an offensive, a defensive, and a special teams player of the game from Atomic Wings. Since there was no game last week, Sam and I get the Atomic Players of the game this week.
Who made that selection, by the way? Who's responsible for that selection?
Yeah, I asked the other coaches, and they all said, "Yeah, go for it."
I feel like I should have been maybe looped in. I don't know. Maybe
votes,
I will say this: I was invited. I know I had some scheduling conflicts, so I do appreciate the invites over the summer.
Yeah, we tried to include you, but it's difficult when you got recruits on campus and whatever else, and
you got to toe the line. We got to toe the line here with the NCAA. We don't want to get coaches in trouble.
That's right. Right. So yeah, we just make sure to include that. But we're excited to have Atomic Wings on board again this season. Hopefully we can get some more video of Coach eating some boneless wings on a Q Coach Cast. We'll see. That was a classic moment from last season. Excited for all that. But let's go ahead and jump in now and talk a little bit about what to expect from the Cougars on the field this Thursday night. So we'll start off with the defense, Coach. Tell us a little bit about your defensive line.
Yeah, honestly, probably the deepest group on our football team right now. We're going to travel quite a few defensive linemen. Obviously, we're expecting a spread the ball around type of game, and so rushing the quarterback. But Cal Botsford is back for his 7th year, grad student. Connor Rice came back as well. He's a grad student as well. Again, both those guys have played a lot of football. Cal was out last year, so we're excited to see what he can do. He's finally ready to go, had a good camp. And then on the inside, I really feel good about those 2 D tackles with Preston Yankee and Dawson Rabe. Both those guys are, big, strong, powerful guys, along with Chase Kelly. They're all over 300 pounds. They squat near 700 pounds, and I think they're going to be the strength of our interior defense. And then Caleb Brasher is a kid that kind of transitioned from tight end to defensive end, back to tight end. Now he's at D tackle. He'll provide some really quality reps there on the inside. And you got to have bodies that can eat up reps because it's a long season. And then our 2 young guys with Max Elrod and Deshaun Rolick, those 2 guys are both redshirt freshmen. I think those guys can help us out. They're probably, pass rusher types on the inside, a little bit smaller body type wise, but very, very strong kids. I mean, Deshaun's bench press is over 700 pounds and Max is right there with him. And so these guys are all put the time in the weight room. So I expect those to help us. And then Dalton Reef is a kid from Chester that between him and Mo Diarra, those 2 guys give us some talented guys that can provide some backup. And I anticipate they're all going to have a role this year. So pretty excited about that group. I think there's a lot there. Certainly some guys that have played a lot of football for us, Alex Maxim and Shin Brennan on the other side. Shin's a kid that joined us as a transfer from Ohio University. That's a whole other story for a different day. But long story short, he had a lady that he was dating at college at San Diego State who happened to be from Harrisburg, South Dakota. Ends up transferring to Ohio because his defensive coordinator went to Ohio. And then all of a sudden things didn't work out. So he ends up going to hang out with his girlfriend in Harrisburg. And then he's thinking about staying closer to his girlfriend. And just so happens that Harrisburg is right here in South Dakota. He reaches out to me. Things worked out. So now he's on our roster. So pretty wild, pretty good kid, though. Excited about a 6'5", 255-pound body. So certainly the body type you want. And then Alex Maxim is one of the guys that's played a ton of football for us. I think he has a chance to be a really dominant player. So really good group. Not to mention James Woodward's a local kid from Sioux Falls Christian that's been in the mix this fall camp, along with some freshmen. But yeah, overall, a real good group, and looking forward to what those guys can do.
Coach, you gave a big shout out to Andy Henson, and rightfully so. We heard his name a lot last year, and I think we're going to hear it a lot this year. But tell us a little bit more about the rest of that linebacker group, and you can tell us more about Andy Henson too. That guy's a stud. I'm glad he's on our team. But let's hear about those linebackers.
He's talented. He is. He's got all the measurables: 6'2", 240. He's really kind of dove into the intricacies of the game and playing the position at a high level, understanding formations and all that, which is what you want. The one thing I'll say about that group, they put a lot of time and effort in. And with Andy, Jay Koch will probably start for us at will linebacker on the weak side. He's a graduate student. I'll give a lot of credit to Jake. We had some guys come in, some young players, a couple transfers, and he's really stepped up. And what you want older guys to do when you bring in some talent is to rise above the challenge and be pushed and be better. And Jake's done a nice job. So excited for him. And then on the other side, London Kolb slid down to the Sam linebacker spot from safety. He was a kid from Jefferson, missed last year because of a toe injury, actually traveled to St. Thomas, and we were going to maybe think about playing him, and we made the decision on the road trip not to play him and try to preserve his year of eligibility because he just couldn't get over this nagging toe injury. But he's finally back and strong, and so, we'll miss some guys. There's no doubt. We had some guys that played pretty good for us last year that we'll have to replace, but I feel good about those three kind of going out there first Thursday night. And then Jordan Madrano, that kid's been phenomenal. Shout out Blue Tide Car Wash. He goes out there and works his tail off. The guy's putting in, making money on the side to pay for school, and then he shows up every day for extra film sessions. But Jordan's a kid that I really think I really want to see good things for him. But he's a guy that I really think can be a quality player for us. Isaac Rudnigan at Mike Backer. His brother was just graduated, Dylan, right, running back, and now Isaac's back for his sophomore year. But he's a guy who's had a good fall camp, along with Owen McLeod. Owen's a kid that transferred. He's from Lakeville, Minnesota, went to high school with Cam Dean, and transferred in from the University of North Dakota, where he played last year as a redshirt freshman. So he's had a really good camp. I expect him to see some action, along with Charlie Quaintance, another kid that was out with injury last year, a big 6'3", 225-pound kid out of Omaha, Nebraska. Charlie was a kid I actively recruited when I was at Mankato, and then when we came here, he came with me. But I think that's a kid that certainly has the potential to be an outstanding player. He's got the length you want. So I'm excited to see what he can do. And then after that, they might see some other guys, some younger guys right now that, but if I said that's the guys that probably are in the mix right now, those 7 guys are probably the guys we're looking at.
Well, Coach, how about the secondary?
Yeah, secondary, we're pretty fortunate. Very similar to, Andy's presence at linebacker. I think we'll get that from Garrett Hoffman and Cade Morris. those guys have played a lot of football for us at the field safety and the boundary safety. Cade's a guy. It's going to be a redshirt sophomore. He's really smart. One of the smartest players we have. Spends a lot of time on film, studying it, knowing what to do. And Garrett's just a kid that'll come up and hit you. And I'm really proud of Garrett, another Sioux Falls product. But Garrett's a kid that he just worked his tail off and overcome some things. And to be a team captain, I think that speaks volumes about his leadership ability. And then behind those two guys, we got a couple other South Dakota kids, and Bo Giblin, another kid that actually went to South Dakota State, transferred in, and he had a knee injury. I want to say maybe it was the Mary game last year. I'm not positive, but kind of a non-contact thing on the sideline. And so he's back. And then Trey Lewis. Trey's a kid from Pierre that obviously a great program in the state, a lot of success. And I'm excited for him as a redshirt freshman. It's exactly what you want. You want to recruit kids that redshirt, develop. And then as a redshirt freshman, we expect him to be a big contributor on special teams and then to help out in that secondary rotation. And then after that, we got a young man by the name of Ben Glogowski. You might recognize that name. Unfortunately for Ben, and this is not his fault, it's genetics, but he's got his dad's speed, his mom's size. So those create some inherent challenges. But I love Ben to death, more than just a son, but he's a great kid. He works his tail off and has really made some strides, gotten a lot stronger. Certainly a kid that's going to help us on special teams, but ready to go if we need to be on backup duty at safety. And then after that, you got Keelan Conkler, another redshirt freshman. So you're starting to see as the program develops, these guys come in, they redshirt, play some special teams as a redshirt freshman. Then as sophomores, they're starting to contribute, and that's kind of what we want to do. You bring in some transfers that can supplement some holes in the roster, but for the most part, most of these guys are homegrown, and I'm pretty proud of that fact. At corner, really interesting situation. Malo Wells is back. He had a really good year last year as a senior. He'll be the senior in the fall. I expect him to lead that corner group, along with Kane McWilliams, who's in grad school now. And Kane's a kid from Dubuque, Iowa. I recruited out of high school years ago. I'm really excited for him. He's poised to have a great season. We did add one transfer at the secondary level at Davion Clements. He's a kid that played at Central Missouri. I think you'll expect to see him a little bit on Thursday night, number 14. But a kid from the Bronx, New York, who actually had to take a ton of credits this summer to graduate. He did. He got his undergrad degree, and then he enrolled in grad school here. So kind of a late addition to the roster, but it turned out to be a really positive addition. And then you got some young guys that, in that 4th, 5th, 6th spot on the corner depth chart. But Davion Williams is a kid that redshirted last year. Man, he looks the part. I mean, he's a fantastic-looking young man. He's got great size and great athleticism. Got to get some experience under his belt, but he's a kid from Lincoln, Nebraska that I think will be a big contributor down the road. And then you got a couple freshmen, Vion Cothrine and Rayshawn Wilson, a couple of true freshmen that might see some playing time. Those kids are out of St. Louis, Missouri area. Really quality freshmen that I think have a bright future. Another guy that did join us in the spring, was here all spring, is Gavin Nunnally. He's a kid out of Omaha, Nebraska. Actually played at St. Thomas last year and transferred in the spring. And so we're hoping for big things out of him. And then you got Brendan Lee, another kid who's been in the program now as a redshirt sophomore. He and Leonard Spates is a redshirt freshman. Those two guys potentially are developmental guys that are getting better and better every day. But I like the depth. I like the numbers. And with the two seniors leading the way, I think we've got a chance to have a good group.
Coach, let's switch gears a little bit and go to the side of the ball that actually scores the points. Sorry, I'm a little biased there, but love my offense. And that's the guys who got to get it done over there. And starts off with Cam Dean. What's the quarterback room look like? We know a little bit about Cam, but tell us, like you said, Cam's had a great fall so far. And what's going on behind Cam?
Yeah, Cam did a really good fall, and obviously he was our preseason nomination for Offensive Player of the Year. Everybody has to give one to the league office, and he certainly is kind of he is definitely the engine that drives the car for us, so to speak, and I'm expecting big things out of him. But we do have some quality depth there, starting with Bennett Brick and Tate Schaefer. Bennett's a redshirt sophomore, has been with us now going into his 3rd year. Then, of course, Tate is a local product from Lincoln High. But those two guys, I feel really good about if something were to happen or, whatever the case might be, getting those guys some opportunities to play. We've looked at some Wildcat stuff where you get these guys involved in the game, look at some different packages. But I just really feel like those three guys, it's a really good quarterback room. Ironically, you've got a true freshman in Gavin Dean, Cam's little brother, as along with Gavin Stahl. We got a lot of Gavins on the squad. But those two guys are the true freshmen in the room. But feel really good about those three kids. I think they, once you get past with Cam's, obviously we know what his ability level is and all that. But with Bennett and Tate, they probably have some maybe stronger characteristics in one area or the other. But and the game situation might dictate who plays. But if we're being honest right now, it's Cam and then 2A and 2B is Bennett and Tate. Those guys both have their qualities that make them special. So we'll see. Really excited about the group, though. We should be in good shape there.
So now we'll move over to running back, which is a position where you had lost a lot of productivity from the 2024 season. We know a couple of the returning names with Christian Nash and Bubba Tan. But, tell us a little bit about what we expect to see on the running back side of things.
Yeah, it's a large group by numbers. When you talk about the total depth of the room, I think we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 or 9 guys there. But Christian Nash, we're looking for big things out of him. Big back, 6'1.5", 235 pounds. Wrestles on the USF Cougar wrestling team as well. Wrestled at heavyweight last year, go figure. But a kid that's coming into his own, and he saw some action last year, but now with those other guys graduated and moving on, I mean, there's an opportunity for him. Bubba Tan, of course, is back. Bubba's got some really elite vision, and he's got the qualities that you look for in a good running back, that the ability to hit the creases and go and those kind of things. And then Jordan Smith joined us as a grad transfer as well from Colorado State and Eastern Illinois. He'd been in a couple different places, but really mature kid, just a great kid, great personality. He really provides some leadership and some maturity, just a real positive kid on the team. And after that, it's been an impressive fall camp for Tate Hoff. He's a true freshman out of West Line across the road over here. His dad, I think, was an alum here. And so, pretty excited to have a kid of that lineage, part of our program, and a kid that obviously that West Lion, Central Lion, that Northwest Iowa football is really good football. And I think Tate's a product of that. So I'm looking forward to what he brings to the table. How much he plays or where he plays, it still remains to be seen. These true freshmen get up to 4 games and they can still maintain their red shirt. So we'll be conscious of that. But if the opportunity provides, we're going to put him out there and play him. He's shown that he can do it in practice, and I'm excited to see what he gets the opportunity, what he does with it. And then you got Max Edwin and Vio Kamara. Those are other couple guys that are redshirt sophomores that certainly can be in the mix on special teams and whatnot too.
Sticking with your skill guys, Coach, you mentioned Isaiah Emanuel, grad transfer, just bringing some senior leadership to that group, a lot of experience. What else we got going on the wide receivers? Somebody's got to catch these balls, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Christian Janis and Adonis Hutchinson are a couple guys that have been in the mix now for a couple years. They both played as true freshmen, both had really solid camps. And so those guys kind of give us a presence at what we call the X or the open position. Isaiah and Hank Brown, dynamic players. They're in the slot. They're the Z's for us. Hank had a really good spring game. He had a really good spring. Hank, I'll give Hank a lot of credit. He's one of the hardest working kids we have. And he's kind of his work ethic has kind of trickled down to everybody else. I always kind of laugh that wide receiver group. It's the last group to come in for lunch during fall camp. They're the last group to get off the field. They're always in the jugs machine. They're always out there early. As good a group as far as work ethic as I've been around. I will say that. And I think Isaiah adds to that. He's certainly brought some leadership qualities. Christian and Adonis played as true freshmen. They're now in their 3rd year in college football. Hank played as a true freshman. So, with Isaiah, a guy going into his 5th year, a grad school student, he kind of, he's 2 years older than anybody else in that room. And so, quite frankly, it was a really good add. I knew the kid. He's a great kid. He's been productive at the college level. He caught a touchdown in the national semifinal game down at Valdosta State. So he's just been certainly a talent is added to the room, but more importantly, how he goes about his business, how he practices every day, talking about how you take care of your body in fall camp from an older guy's perspective. That's really been positive, and I've really been pleased with that. So, he's really brought things to the table. Certainly, we hope he'll bring some things from a football perspective, making plays. But just as far as leadership and those guys, I told Christian and Adonis this. I said, it's my job to bring guys in that make you better. Yes, to push you competitively wise, but also just to show you what it looks like to be an older guy who's had success at a high level. And I think he's going to do a good job with that, Along with those two guys, we've also got Jack Merkwan, a kid out of Pierre, and Isaac Jarofsky, kid out of Lincoln High. Of course, Tate and Isaac hooked up a couple times during fall camp, which was kind of fun to see. We're living their high school memories when they got it done at the high school level. But with Jack and Isaac, those guys are going to provide some really good depth. They're really going to do a good job. And then you round it out with maybe some young guys with Joe Cunningham as a redshirt freshman. Caden Hankus is another kid from Ankeny, Iowa. You might see make an appearance here. But he's a kid, a true freshman out of Ankeny, Iowa, that really a big-bodied kid that can really run. So I'm excited about him. And there's some other guys in that group too. I can go on and on, but Dallas Miller out of Iowa City, a kid that's been explosive as a freshman, and Donovan Rose right here out of Sioux Valley, right up the road, who's done a nice job. And so, Trevor Weedy's a kid out of Harrisburg that we expect some good things from this year. And so that group of guys, there's about 14 or 15 of them, and the majority of those guys are true freshmen or redshirt freshmen, so their time will come. But really, that top 6 or 7 guys, I expect good things from.
Coach, let's move on to tight end. Traditionally, tight end has been a great position for USF football. I can go through and list probably a dozen guys that are, household names around USF football history, but you lost your top 2 tight ends from last season. So what do we expect to see on the field this Thursday night?
Yeah, Travis Yonke, obviously he was a really good player for us, and Mark, those guys, they did a really nice job for us, Mark Leonard. And, I think for those guys to graduate, move on, there's going to be some names that people don't maybe recognize, but have been in the mix and have been here since I've been here since day one. And the first guy, Dalton Wood, and then Noah Robertson, kind of 1A, 1B. We have what we call a J position, who's more of a off the ball kind of guy, maybe a big bodied receiver. And then you have your Y on the ball, your typical tight end. And Dalton Wood he's a presence now. He's 6'6", 6'7", 255 pounds. He can run. Small town Nebraska kid who's been here since day one. And there's a lot of these guys that now that I've been here for going on 3 years, you develop relationships and you get to know their background, their story. And, Dalton and Noah are both kids that I really want to see do well. We certainly don't hand anybody anything, but guys that have put their time in, that have kind of been in the shadows, that here's the lights come on and they're out in the spotlight now. So Thursday night's going to be an awesome opportunity to see those guys kind of fulfill the hard work of 3 years. And now in year 4 of the program, you want to see them be productive. And, Blake Stahl's another kid. Blake Stahl's a kid that, I've known for a long time, was part of recruiting at Mankato. He actually was he's roommates with my son in the house over there by campus. And so you get to know some of these kids. Sometimes you forget, and you guys understand, you both have children. I see Chad, yours just went off to college, and Josiah was running around on the sideline. He'll be going to college before you know it. And my son's on the team, and he rooms with some of these guys. And so guys like, not to leave anybody out, but Bennett and Dawson and Blake and Bo and these guys that he lives with, that as a parent, you get to know these kids maybe a little bit different because you hear about them, you see them, you're around them a little bit more than just a normal coach relationship. And so Blake's a kid that I'm pulling for. He's a really good kid. He's worked really hard. He's come a long way. He'll get his opportunity. And Jacob Emslander is another kid who's been in the program as a redshirt junior. So we go redshirt junior, redshirt junior, redshirt junior, redshirt sophomore. So these guys have been in Cougar uniforms and on the sidelines. It's time. Right now it's their time. And you want to give these guys the opportunity. And Cooper Garber's a redshirt sophomore, another kid. That's 5 guys that have been in this program for at least 3 years now, and so it's time to see what they can do. And then we did add some guys. We added Dagan Jensen, a kid that came from Tulsa. He's also a redshirt sophomore, so he'll be in the mix too. And then we had a couple of freshmen and sophomores, and Kevin Jackson was a redshirt sophomore. But it's a good group. I'm excited about what they can do, and we're just hopeful that those guys can, have a good experience and enjoy the process. And now there's their opportunity.
Coach, we got one more group left here, at least on offense, a position group near and dear to Chad and I's heart, that offensive line.
Saving the best for last for you two guys. I love it.
Last but certainly not least, and we got to give these guys a shout out. I know it's a position group I'm certainly excited to watch and had a lot of fun watching at practice the other day. But talk us through a little bit about the O-line this year.
Yeah, it's an interesting group. There's a lot of experience. Guys that play a lot of snaps for us. We get a guy back, first of all, with Caden Moss. Caden was a kid that was a redshirt freshman starter for us and then had an injury last summer and missed the entire football season, was filming, right? That's a lot of our kids. People don't understand. A guy gets hurt and he ends up, still doing whatever he can. This guy was filming practices last year just to do whatever he could to help out. But he had a really good fall camp, a really good spring, and he's healthy now. And, man, he's 6'6" and 305, 310. And if we were talking about, no offense to Jerome, but, Jerome probably doesn't on the hoof look like, an NFL offensive lineman. Probably Caden's the opposite. He looks the part, right, as far as his 6'6" stature and all that. And then you got Ryan Ziegelbauer, and him and Caden are like freaking frack, those two guys, right? I mean, those guys are together everywhere, both Wisconsin kids. And to see those guys on the left side on Thursday night, both those guys have been in the mix. This will be Ryan's 3rd year as a starter. He's really kind of a glue guy in that offensive line. Throw in Jerome, who's been a really good leader at a really good fall camp, and is just kind of the grit of that offensive line. And then at right guard, we'll see between 3 guys at right guard and right tackle. I expect Tyler Euchen, all 6'9", 295 pounds of him, and Brady Copel, who transferred in from South Dakota, a Brandon Valley product. And then you got Jack Zelzinski, who's just a really a battler, a kid that's come a long way. But those 3 guys, in some way, shape, or form, we'll see time at right guard and right tackle. So those 6 guys I feel really confident about. And then throw in Sawyer Huntemer, probably the quietest guy on our football team, a kid from Sioux Falls Jefferson, a redshirt sophomore who just continues to work, and I feel very confident that he could play in a game. And then you got Grant Kaiser, a redshirt freshman from Boyceville, Wisconsin. He's about 6'5", 305. And then Gavin Batchelor, another Gavin. So he's a redshirt freshman kid that had a good spring and is kind of finally healthy. And then don't forget about Mr. Peterson, Ben Peterson, a kid that played for us last year, started 7 games, had a knee injury, was first-team All-League. He's back. He's coming off that knee injury. He's been out there. He's been playing, taking reps. So whether he's 100% ready to go or whatever the case might be, we'll see on Thursday night. But I certainly expect him to play this year. But just a monster of a human being, big guy that understands what we want, has been a really good assistant coach to that group up front. So I'm excited about what he brings to the table. So you start talking about those initial 6 I mentioned, you throw in Ben, that's 7 guys who have played in football games for us, right? And then last but not least, you had Caden Mason, a kid from Harrisburg, South Dakota that went to the junior college route and then transferred back. He added to our team this summer. He's a 6'4", 295-pound kid, but there's just a lot of big bodies in there, right? And a lot of guys that can do some stuff. Had an opportunity kind of with some of these guys and pacing them coming back. But, guys like Jacob Jean-Jay, I'm probably butchering that last name, but kid out of T, Victor Hernandez, those guys both saw time kind of in that second, third group during fall camp. Very excited about that. Casey Nielsen is a big kid out of Iowa that's a redshirt freshman that we expect good things from. Jace Tone is a kid that had a really nice fall camp as a true freshman. And Schwarty from down in my Trainer, Iowa, another kid that had a really positive. And my guy Mason Payne, I call him T-Payne out of Sioux Falls, that really is a true freshman. That there's a lot of promise in that group. So feel good about it. Aiden DeVolder is a kid that played for us a lot last year. He's got a back issue right now, so I don't expect him to play. But, we'll see how that thing shakes out. Battling kind of a little bit of an injury, but probably not going to make the trip on Thursday. But, for the most part, I feel really good about the group that we have. They're a very cohesive group. And, they played a lot of football. I think we mentioned that before. When I took the job of the 5 offensive linemen, 1 graduated and 4 transferred out before I really got here. One of them, Will Washingberger. How about that? That guy's I think he was nominated as maybe the preseason player of the year for Wayne State. That guy's a heck of a football player right here from Sioux Falls. O'Gorman that was on the squad here and transferred out before I really got the job and got here. So, so it's a good group. I'm really pleased with the work they put in. We've stayed relatively healthy, and that's a key for us. But I expect those guys to lead the way, and I'm not super concerned about who's going to get the ball. I think there's a lot of guys that can get the ball. It's just, they'll do good things once they get it. We just got to do a great job of being on the same page and communicating. And as you guys know, that's the biggest thing up front is the consistency, right? You got to have some consistency. You can't have guys rotating in and out of the rotation, because that's just not a recipe for success. That's usually going to doom you because you don't have the same cohesiveness. So we'll see. Like I said, I just at this point right now, everyone's kind of, on pins and needles because you're waiting to see what it looks like on Thursday night. But you talk about Jerome and Ryan and Mossy and Zelzinski and Brady Copel and Yukin. I mean, those are guys that I've seen lead the way and help us beat teams like Mankato. So you'd like to anticipate that they're going to be reliable and that we can count on them. And then you throw in some young guys in the mix. And I think we've got a really good 7, 8, 9 group. And then 9 and 10 will be guys that got to develop a little bit, but that's all part of it.
Well, Coach, this is not Matt Witwicky's show, so we're going to talk about special teams a little bit. Tell us. Obviously last year you had a freshman punter, freshman long snapper. Both those guys are back. What do we expect to see? Punting the ball, kicking game, things along those lines.
Yeah, we did. 2 of the 3 key guys were true freshmen, and we're going to miss Nick Hernandez. He was a really good football player for us, guy you could rely on. And that's, if I'm being honest with you right now, probably maybe too honest on these things, because I'm sure other coaches are trying to get some tidbits of information. But, the consistency, certainly the talent is there at the field goal and the extra point position. JT Frieders is a guy that we added from college at DuPage. And then Scott, obviously, can do some kickoff duties and some extra point field goal stuff. And Alex Acom. Alex got a big leg. Alex is the kid out of Mankato. He redshirted last year. But I think if those guys were being honest, and I'm being honest, we just got to be more consistent there. But as far as talent and work ethic and reliability, all those guys have the ability. I know Coach Hanson's been working with those guys too. But, we just got to be more consistent there. As far as snapping and holding and that part of the operation, I feel really good about that. And shout out to Blaze. Blaze Marchand's a kid that's been doing it since a true freshman year. But the guy that gets forgotten about in all this is PI, Peyton Inns. And Peyton's a kid that transferred in here from Concordia St. Paul, got a few snaps under his belt. But I think for a lot of teams in this league, if not any other team in this league, he might be the starting snapper. But Blaze has been really consistent. So I feel like we're spoiled at the long snapping and short snapping position. We've got two guys that can really get it done. You're talking about hundredths of a second, the difference in their snap times. And so I feel really good about either one of those guys if they're out there. And then kickoff return game, I feel like we've got some guys, Adonis back there, of course, Hank. Carter Slykehouse, obviously, we're going to miss Carter for a lot of reasons. One of them being the kickoff game. He was very reliable back there. But we've worked at that. We've got some guys that I think can do it. Cade Morris can certainly secure a punt. The biggest thing with punting is we want to make sure on punt returns that we catch the ball, right? And we make good decisions. Nothing drives a coach crazier than when a kid fair catches the ball on the 2-yard line or lets the ball hit on the 12 and it rolls to the 1. So that's the biggest focus we've had in the fall is making sure we understand how to handle those situations. When the ball bounces, it's a muff into the end zone versus you got to go get that thing. It's a live ball. We've spent a lot of time talking about those things and just trying to be sharp so that, certainly talent helps and we have talent, but we've got to be smart with our talent. They got to understand what the situation calls for. And hopefully we can, get a couple advantages in some games because we understand the situation.
Well, Coach, now that we know a little bit about the team, let's take a quick sponsor break here, and then we'll kind of come back and preview our first matchup this Thursday night. So to start off with, we do have a new sponsor this year, as we mentioned. Unlimited Painting is going to be a sponsor of the Coup Coach Cast this season. Unlimited Painting does a phenomenal job with all of your services for interior, exterior painting, staining, cabinet painting, any of that stuff. They'll even seal your concrete if you need that done. Lots of different services that are available. Durant Foote is the owner of this. He's a former USF offensive lineman and played under Jed Stugart, and he does a fantastic job running his business. For more information, you can call for information or for a free quote, 605-403-9222, or visit the website at unlimitedpaintingsf.com. Go out to Facebook if you're on Facebook and give them a follow or like. They always have lots of deals there. And we're going to show a little bit of a commercial here for Unlimited Painting.
I'm the owner of Unlimited Painting. Our licensed and insured crew delivers professional results on time and within budget. Not only are we quick, easy, and affordable, but we're going to transform your space with lasting impressions. Unlimited Painting, professional, dependable, and done right the first time. We're offering 15% off any exterior project. Give us a call now for a free quote.
I know Durant's trying to fill up his fall schedule right now. Coach, when you get home at night, does your wife have like a to-do list for you, a honey-do list?
Well, it depends.
Okay.
Not in August, but
okay.
Yeah, as soon as the season's over, it's basically texted to me, and it's a to-do list, and it's she's relatively light on me sometimes, but the older I get, the more I look at hiring people like Durant, and he's a good guy. He actually hires some of our players to help out too, so I appreciate him. Shout out to that, and he does a great job with that stuff. So I would say, and I know you've had experience, right? You mentioned that he did your deck for you and does a good job. So you have a reference right here, a live reference on the Cougars. You can't how can you get any better than that?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Coach, the older I get, the less enticing climbing on a ladder and like standing in 105-degree heat is for me. So I'm much more inclined at my age right now to hire professionals. And I did that this summer. I needed to stain my deck, and Durant, had his guys come over. They got it done so fast. I mean, they're professionals. These guys know what they're doing. They're doing it all day, every day. They do the right thing the right way, and I highly recommend Unlimited Painting. Go ahead and contact them, 605-403-9222, or go to unlimitedpaintingsf.com. So that's our sponsor, our second sponsor. We're excited to have you on board here, Durant and Unlimited Painting. So thanks to those guys. But now let's dive into the game a little bit. Coach, we play Thursday night, USF. Out at Black Hills State, not Black Hills State, Black Hills State. Thursday, August 28th, Lyle Hare Stadium in Spearfish, South Dakota. Kickoff scheduled for 7 p.m. And you can watch online if you want, but it is a paid stream through the RMAC service. And I did hook it up. It's $10 plus tax, so $10.60. You have to, shell out to watch the game. But you do have access to it. According to their website, you do have access to that game for as long as you have your account or whatever on Huddle. Otherwise, you can listen on KWSN this season again, 98.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. Tom Frederick and Tim Hyatt will be on the call for the game this week. And I believe it's 7 p.m. That's our time, correct, Coach?
Yeah. We're going to, a little Back to the Future reference. We're going back in time. So I don't know. I think so. I think it's 6 o'clock out there, 7 o'clock here. I know this is that we're leaving here to take off to go there Wednesday, and we're getting there earlier than I thought, and screwed that up with the housing and all that. But yeah, anyways, coming back, we lose an hour. So a little time travel this weekend amongst everything else, but I think we'll be able to handle it.
It is. I can confirm that, Birger, as somebody who's taken his family to the game. I needed to vet all these things with my children and bedtimes and kickoffs. That 7 p.m. Central Time kickoff for those of you who will not be making the trip out west. I know we kind of forget about our west side of the state sometimes, myself included. So 6 p.m. kickoff Mountain Time there at Lyle Hare. But looking forward to making the trip to watch you guys in person, Coach. It was an easy sell to the family. I was like, hey, we should go out to the hills. It's beautiful out there. Let's do it. And she's like, yeah, I'm all about it. And I was like, oh, by the way, USF plays Black Hills. Oh, it worked. It worked, though. She had already committed to the trip. But yeah, she's a big proponent of the coup. So it wasn't a hard sell at all. But
you got to take your big guy. Don't they have like those slides with the carpets? You got to take your big guy down there. That's like a rite of passage, isn't it? Don't they have those out there still?
Yeah, the Alpine slide.
You sit on a piece of carpet or something. You slide down the slide or something. I don't know.
I think it's on wheels now. I don't know if they have the carpet. But I did that.
The last time I was out there, I think my dad may go feed some peanuts to prairie dogs or something. Last time I was out there when I was a kid, I don't know. And the faces, of course, you got the faces. You can hit that up. We were going to do that, but we just went out of time. But we're actually going to make a stop at Al's Oasis. I've heard great things about Al's Oasis on Interstate 90.
Excellent.
So we're going to pop out there for lunch on the way out. So we'll see. But apparently they got one of the largest collection of jackalope stuffed that you're ever going to find. So, some of our guys have never seen a stuffed jackalope. We'll see how that goes. But
I think it might look good up behind you, Coach. You might need one. I might expect one next week on our show. Okay,
yeah. Well, I'd probably get a jackrabbit though. That'd be better for me. A stuffed jackrabbit would be a nice look up there.
I like that.
Maybe. Birger, you can get behind that, can't you?
So, Coach, you're going to give the team a true South Dakota experience. Do you know the last time that USF played at Black Hills State? Trivia.
Forever ago, 10, 12, 15, 20 years ago?
It's more than that.
Really?
Sam, do you know?
I did some homework for the show, so I actually do know because I actually played. I played in the last game against Black Hills State, but it was
that was at the Bob. Yep.
That was one part of the trivia question that I did play in the last one. If Coach remembers that, but the one prior to that,
1999, and I was on that team.
Really?
Yes. So you have two people who played in the last two games against
26 years ago. That's the last time, huh?
Yep.
I feel like I should have known that.
In-state rivalry, renewing this, I think this is a great deal for not just USF football, but just for getting excitement around things in the state of South Dakota. You had mentioned all the local kids that you have on the roster, Coach, and getting those guys the opportunity to play, an opponent, a D2 opponent in the state of South Dakota. Yep. That's not in the conference is kind of a big deal.
Well, and Coach Bresky was here, right? He coached here at one time at Sioux Falls, so you got that connection. And I mentioned earlier that not that it's a connection, but the offensive coordinator for Black Hills was at Mary, so I know there's a little bit of an NSIC connection. And there's actually a couple kids we recruited or at least had contact with that from the Colorado. They do a nice job of recruiting in Arizona and Colorado. I know their roster's full of kids from there, so there's some kids we cross paths with in recruiting, but. Yeah, Coach Bresky does a really good job. He's a very, very good football coach. They're a very physical football team. Pueblo was one of the best teams in our region last year, and they put it on Pueblo. I mean, they had over 500 yards of offense, had the ball for over 40 minutes, and really a couple of field goals here and there. And I think it was 24-21 was the final maybe, but that was a really tight ball game. They would have had like we had our Mankato moment. They would have had their Pueblo moment. That's kind of the team in their league that they're chasing. And so, he's done a really good job. They have culture. They have an identity. The quarterback's returning. Defensively, they've got a pretty special defensive tackle and a defensive end. They're very physical at linebacker. I think they're just like us. They probably have some youth in the secondary that they have to kind of work through just like we do. But I think all in all, a football team that's very competitive in their league, a football team that probably feels like, I think they were picked 5th, just like we were in our league. So they're probably feeling like I told our players, for them, this is a huge opportunity. Just like for us, it's a huge opportunity. And I'm sure there's some element of, hey, the Sioux Falls City kids are coming out. Let's show them how we play out in the hills. I'm sure there's some of that overtone. I do have to be careful about the overtones I mentioned, because last year I think I mentioned about the triple option that the Minot Beavers run, that apparently you get death by 1,000 cuts, like paper cuts. And that came up on their pregame video I found out this summer at the summer camp circuit. One of the Minot guys like, hey, thanks for the bulletin board material. I'm like, what did I say about Minot? Apparently that was a big deal. They love that their offense is death by 1,000 cuts. So not going to say anything that's poster board material here for the Jackets out there, but yeah, we're going to have our hands full. It's going to be a challenge. They've got some really talented skill guys coming back. Offensive line, they've got a really talented offensive lineman that maybe is an NFL type of caliber, big-bodied kid. And so, for us, the challenge will be, can we handle the trip? Can we handle the outside distractions? Can we stay focused on the task at hand? Like any first game, I told our kids this all the time, how you handle the ups and downs is critical. Everyone's going to have opening game, mistakes and whatnot, but who can minimize those and not make a bad situation worse, and win by 1 or win by 100. It doesn't matter. You just want to win, right? We just want to try to figure out a way to get a victory and come back and work the next week after that. But yeah, I'm really excited about the opportunity to get out and play Thursday night, an in-state opponent. They come back here next year, so it's a home and home. So it'll be a good opportunity for us to see a different opponent, a non-conference game. Obviously, St. Thomas, Pitt State, and we've had some challenging non-conference games. This is another one. This will not be easy. I'm really hoping our kids are focused and locked in, and I think they will be. It's an opener, but we got some guys out there for the first time in a Cougar uniform under the lights, and we'll see how it goes.
Coach, I'm excited for the game. I know I've been out at practice a few times. Sam's been out at practice. I'm sure the players are tired of hitting each other on the USF team and ready to hit an opponent, and so that'll be a big thing for this Thursday night. Sam, do you have any other questions regarding the game?
No, I think the fans are in the same boat as the players, probably not quite the same, but we're ready for football. Like I said, temps are in the 40s, football weather settling in. I checked the forecast for Thursday. It's looking nice and cool. It's gonna be a great day out under the lights and sit there in the hills, and just looking forward to watching Cougar football live again.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, a lot of people have commented it's a beautiful stadium and a beautiful view. I've never been out there, so I'm really excited about that. I think they have fireworks, the post-game fireworks I've heard. So it's a 6:05 kickoff. Actually, I think they actually move it back for 5 minutes. So the official start time is 6:05, but post-game fireworks. So I'm sure that'll keep people around or bring out a big crowd. And Thursday night football, I think high school starts on Friday. I think there's a little bit that started this past week, but yeah, it's that time of year. It's exciting. All this effort. And that's the funny thing. I would leave with this. You talk about the lifetime of a football team, life cycle. And this football team's life cycle started on November 16th last year after the regular season ended. And you basically have a 365 year life cycle. The funny part is we're almost 85% through the year of this football team's life cycle, if that sounds crazy enough, right? Today we'll go out and it'll be our normal Wednesday practice. That would be a normal weekly practice, and then we'll practice tomorrow, and that's it. You have 2 more practices to really shine and polish what you're going to do. And then after that, you basically have 30 practices left. So to put that in perspective, you basically have 30 practices after the first game, and you have about 20 up to the first one. So our season is almost half over, if you can already imagine that practice-wise. That's crazy. So you've got to take advantage of these opportunities. You work your tail off for 365 days for 11 nights or 11 days, and that's 33 hours of real time, and you can do the math for 600 minutes or whatever it is for game time. But yeah, it's exciting. We've got a lot of guys that have been looking forward to this, and it doesn't matter who you're playing. You just want to get out there and go, and we've got a great opponent, a challenging drive, a challenging trip, going back in time, right? It's gonna be crazy. Time travel a little bit this weekend, and we'll see what shakes out, but looking forward to it. Got a lot of respect for those guys. I know they're working hard. I watched the videos and their YouTube clips of their coaching staff post-practice. We all looking for information, and they seemed excited, and they're rightfully so. They're jazzed up about what they've got going on, and they've got they've got a great opportunity just like we do, and we'll see which team takes advantage of the opportunities that present themselves.
Looking forward to it this Thursday night, 6:05, which happens to be the area code of the state of South Dakota. I think
Mountain
that's
time. 6:05 Mountain time.
Mountain time, 7:05 Central. Tune in online, listen on KWSN, support the Cougars. If you're not able to go, if you go, I went to a game out there during the COVID year because RMAC was playing football and Northern Sun wasn't. So I actually went to a game out there, and the tailgating I've seen out there is pretty good as well. So get out, tailgate, support the team. Go Cougars.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, to wrap up, special thanks to our contributors here, Tom Frederick, Tim Hyatt, Matt Witwicky, the USF Athletic Department, and the Northern Sun, as well as our sponsors, Unlimited Painting and Atomic Wings. For Sam Dooyema and Jim Glogowski, I'm Chad Birger. Until next time, go Cougars.